Neither one of you seem to understand what a contact hitter is.
Oh, yeah?
That's okay.
No, okay. Well,
Now,
your contact and our contact are completely different things then, because
let
I
me
understand.
explore this in a way that I think we could both agree that Lenny's right.
I'm
Now,
not going to
I think
agree that
the
Lenny's
problem
right.
is you guys are arguing two different sides of a coin. You are discussing the successful times that contact is made, whereas I think Lenny is judging it more by the unsuccessful times, right? So by definition, he made X number of outs in the season, right? So what percentage of those outs were made by non-contact striking out?
Well, he
And
said
I think that's how you would define a contact hitter. Because we're all going to agree that you have to make contact to be successful, right? To have a hit, other than a loss. You have to make contact to have positive outcomes, generally speaking. So what I would be interested to know is what percentage of the years that he led the league, what percentage of his outs were strikeouts, right? So he had 126 strikeouts for a couple of years, right?
He had 126,
so if he made
125, and
outs,
120.
then that's one thing. But if he made 200 outs, then yeah, that's really not much of a contact hitter, because if he's not successful in getting a hit, then he doesn't put the ball in play.
Again, if you look at his seasons, and we've went through his seasons, we had Speedy look at numbers. The guy was averaging 2 hits a game. You're going to tell me that's not contact? That is a contact hitter.
You're not understanding what I'm saying. That's the positive side of contact, absolutely. But what we're saying is what percentage of the negative outcomes, the outs.
Okay, so maybe
Lenny's
Lenny's definition of contact is different than ours. And maybe you can agree with Lenny. I'm going to disagree. I look at contact in a completely different way. I look at batting average. And Lenny also mentioned, what was the statistic that he brought up that we should look at? And he was wrong about that.
Contact rate, right.
Yeah, contact rating, which is completely wrong.
Which, okay, he compared to other greats. That's fine, but we're not saying that. Again,
I said that Mickey Mantle was a good contact hitter. I didn't say he was an excellent or he was the best contact hitter. I said he was a good contact hitter. That's what I said. So you're going to tell me that you're telling me Mickey Mantle wasn't a good contact hitter when he led the league in batting average 3 out of back-to-back years?
Yep.
In three years in a row?
I agree that he had good positive contact, right? But what he's saying is, in the instances where he's unsuccessful in getting a hit,
we understand,
right?
We're
like
very
moving a runner along, right?
Or exit velocity stats, and you hit a ball right at them, kind of thing.
We're intelligent guys. We're not stupid, and we understand what he's trying to say. It's not too. We're not too off on what he is trying to say. We understand what he's saying, but he has to understand our way of looking at contact.
Contact is not that vague in terms of just making contact, because again, you might be right where, again, he might have gotten hard hits that were outs, or other players may have gotten more good contact that were outs, kind of thing. We can't track the exit velocity and like the bat speed off the ball,
especially not those years.
Not in those times. I'm sure there's a way to adjust it with a formula, but I don't have the technology to do that. I can only do with what I found out on Baseball Reference.
Well, essentially what I'm saying is you're offering each other different arguments, so you'll never get a concession because you can't calculate either way because you're talking about two different things.
Mm-hmm.
So by what he's arguing, he's right, because how many outs did he make in a year that he batted 300 plus? How many total outs did he have? So there was probably
the league was different in the 1950s and 60s. And if you look at the strikeouts to total power hitters that are in baseball now, they're striking out 200 times. Right. Aaron Judge is striking out 225 times. He's hitting 40 home runs, and he leads the league in RBIs. Mickey Mantle was batting 352, 365. This guy was a great hitter. He was a contact hitter. In our eyes, the way baseball has changed, if you look at the numbers and statistics of how it's changed, you have numbers now from WAR to WPA to REWs. What do these numbers mean? We don't know what it means. There's a meaning to every single statistic now. So the way we look at what contact is today, striking out 125 times is not a lot. In the league this year, who struck out the most? Who struck out the least?
I think I looked it up yesterday. It was Melky Cabrera with 41. 41 it was.
He played the whole season?
He played, I think, 133 games.
133 games.
Which is qualifying, so that's fine.
So, and he struck out 43 times.
41.
41 times. Whatever. 43, 41, and 2 different from the other. Okay? And then you got great hitters, like Bellinger, who is a great hitter. I mean, he won the MVP in the National League. He struck out over 100 times.
I think he struck out over 150 times.
Yes, but he's not a contact hitter. He is a contact hitter. He batted 300 and something. What he batted? 311, 314 or something like that?
Right.
That's a contact hitter. I'm sorry. I understand strikeouts to ball ratio, but I also know that hitting the ball is contact.
So basically from that logic...
Well, then by your definition, every hitter that is a good batter is also a great contact hitter.
No, I didn't say that. I did not say that.
If they have a high batting average, that's your basis of saying they're a great contact hitter.
Let me ask you a question.
So everybody who has a good batting average is a good contact hitter.
Let me ask you a question.
So essentially, you're adding an adjective to the noun, but the adjective carries no meaning.
Well, unless it's a fluke year.
Listen,
otherwise,
this is not high school class here, Snug. And I'm not going to argue with you on what Lenny says, and he's not 100% wrong. And I never said Lenny was 100% wrong. I think his thought to what contact is a little different from what we think contact is.
And you also have to remember, too, if you're going to say that Mickey Mantle was a bad contact hitter striking out 126 times, that means almost half the league is not a good contact hitter now, from what his logic is, which obviously isn't true because there's a lot of good hitters.
For total number of at-bats because there weren't as many at-bats back then. But I'm not saying that Mickey Mantle was a bad was not.
Hold on. Snug.
What?
Snug. First of all, the league is the same it was in the 1950s, and yes,
still 9 innings.
They were still hitting 5 to 4 times a game, sometimes 6, depending on where they were.
If
batting
anything, they're subbed out more today.
Yes, to me, you're wrong about that. I think they're actually in those times.
How many games did they play in the 50s, and how many games do they play now?
What do you mean? How many games? They played 152 games.
They played 50 games and
they played 152. So 12 less games. Okay, fine.
Okay, so you're telling
of 36 to 50 at bats at least.
Okay, so 30 or 60 at bats.
So 17% of 36 means he probably would have struck out maybe 8 more times or something like that.
8 more times, 10 more times.
134.
He's still under what most of the great hitters in baseball right now are striking out at. So if we're looking at those numbers and we're trying to add statistics to the answer of what contact is and what it isn't, we're both arguing an argument that we're both going to be wrong at. Because in thought, we're both right and we're both wrong. Because the way we look at statistics now, they didn't look at statistics then. And that's why when I look at contact in batting average, balls per, balls to walk ratio and all that other stuff that he was talking about, Mickey Mantle was a good contact hitter. He wasn't a great, he wasn't an excellent. When I was talking on the show, when we were trying to compare Derek Jeter to Mariano Rivera to greatness of Mickey Mantle, I don't know how this came up. I said Mickey Mantle was a good contact hitter. He had a heart attack. Okay? I mean, the heart attack is, okay, Lenny knows a lot about baseball, and I respect him in so many ways to one, just like I respect everybody, including you, Snug. I love your cupcakes, and by the way, we have a special picture, and you should definitely watch the replay of the show, because we are talking to Snug the cat. We have a cat eating a cupcake. So we did that for you.
I was hoping you would have one, because I saw Jeff's, and I was a little jealous. I'm not even going to lie.
Well,
we prepared.
We prepared for you, and I made it for you. I made it for you, and now you have something when you come on the show where people to get to know who you are in a cat kind of way. But
that's awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That made my whole day.
Well, I did it for you. I got one for Jeff, too. Don't worry. I got one for the beef.
Jeff. It was awesome.
Yeah, I got one for the beef, too. Don't worry. When the beef calls, whenever he does call, I think he's trying to stay away because I got something for people to laugh about, too. It's a really great. Kenny, too.
I'm pretty sure the beef has corona or something. Let's talk about that one.
Did you see what I did to Mike? You see what I did to Mike?
No, I didn't see Mikey.
Mikey, it's funny.
Tell me the beef includes licking windows on a short bus, because that's what I
wouldn't
envision
say
the beef
that.
doing.
I wouldn't say that, but It is really funny. It is really funny. But when the beef calls, everybody's going to get the opportunity to see what we did for him. So, and I keep telling him, you got to call the show because I got something special for you. But I think he's afraid to call. But eventually, the beef will call the show. So, and when he does, I'll be very excited to show him what we have for him. But I agree with you. There is a lot of thought what contact hitting is. And in some ways, Lenny is right. And I'm not saying that Lenny is 110% wrong. I'm saying that our contact thought in statistics, the way statistics are brought up to us as millennials, and you're a millennial too, because you're not over 40 and you're right in that age bracket where we're, between 39 all the way to 20. That's a millennial. And to me, our way of looking at statistics are completely different than they were in the 1950s and the 1960s. So my thought to contact hitting is not just one thing, Snug. It's a ton of things. So again, Speedy says, well, if he fouls a ball off, that's not contact. That's absolutely contact.
And from the same logic, he's making fun of strikeouts where, all right, so walks aren't part of contact because you're not swinging. All right, you could strike out looking too. That's the same thing. That's just, again, a pitcher getting a good pitch in there.
And that's
so you can't have it both ways.
We're not saying, again, Lenny is 110% wrong.
He's just using the super vague definition.
And I respect Lenny because I look up to him in a baseball kind of way, and he's got more than enough knowledge in baseball that could probably torch us all. But again, I learned from what people tell me, just like I learned from my grandfather. When my grandfather told me about Mickey Mantle, I never saw Mickey Mantle play. Never once. I've seen Mike Trout play. I've seen Ken Griffey Jr. play. I've seen Alex Rodriguez play. I've seen some of the greatest baseball players ever play. And I could tell you this, the way people look at statistics now, the way statistics are brought up in Baseball Reference or even statistics that they bring up on the MLB Network or ESPN is completely different than what they looked at in statistics in those days. So again, Lenny isn't wrong, but he's not all right. And that's what we're saying. That is not our argument that he wasn't right. He's right in his way, in the analytically sound way of a 1950, 1960 statistic that he's looking at strikeouts and he led the league. Now you look at strikeouts now, and you know this, Snug, it's completely different because some of the best hitters in baseball strike out over 150, 160 times, and they're getting 2-3 hits. Some of them are getting 2-3 hits a game.
That's just as a result of the league completely basing themselves now with analytics because analytics doesn't care about strikeouts.
Exactly. And those analytics will prove why Mickey Mantle was a Hall of Famer. If you compare Mickey Mantle's numbers to the best hitters in baseball right now, especially strikeouts to ball ratio, Mickey Mantle will be one of the top 5 hitters in baseball.
A lot of those years where he was top 5 in strikeouts, he was top 3 in a lot of key analytic statistics, which involve driving guys in, which involve win probability, WAR, anything like that. He was top 3 in a lot of those categories, even in years where he was first or even top 5 in strikeouts. And even some of those years he had under 100 strikeouts too. He was also first or second in a lot of those categories.
Which means?
Well, I don't think Mickey Mantle's greatness was ever in question.
No. We're not saying. No. We know how great Mickey Mantle, and I know Lenny knows how great Mickey Mantle was. He's not saying Mickey Mantle wasn't great. He's saying he wasn't a contact hitter, which we beg to differ because numbers show that he was. In our analytics these days, in the millennial way, he is a contact hitter. Now, in those days, he wasn't. In these days, he was.
Because if he's judging, all right, you have to be not a strikeout guy to be a contact guy in his mindset. Those guys that were considered contact hitters, with some exceptions. Like there are some legends who are like that, were also not power hitters, and as a result, probably weren't as good of a players as what Mantle was.